Ever catch yourself thinking, what in the world were they thinking? Well, we're diving into a theory today that tries to explain just that. It's Carlo M. Cipolla's The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity.
Oh, this is a fun one.
It really is. Cipolla was a respected economic historian, and he makes this argument that stupidity, it's not really about intelligence. It's more about, like, the impact of our actions on ourselves and on others. And, his book, originally written in English, it's kind of become this global thing. People are talking about it, debating how much our choices or the choices other people make, how much they really affect the world around us.
It's true, his work really sparked a lot of conversation.
So ready to dig into Cipolla's laws and see what we find? Maybe some wisdom, maybe some uncomfortable truths?
Let's do it.
Let's dive in.
What always gets me about Cipolla's work is how he takes this subject, human stupidity, which on the surface, sounds kind of lighthearted, maybe even a little funny, and then he just reveals how deeply it can affect us, our lives, even societies, history. It's fascinating.
He really doesn't hold back, does he? Like, take his first law. It just straight up says that we're always underestimating how many stupid people are around. I don't know about you, but I can think of so many times when I've seen someone make a decision and I'm just like, hold on, really? Did that just happen?
And that's exactly his point. It's not about going around labeling people, you know? It's about recognizing that all of us, we underestimate this stupidity. And it's something we all do. And because we underestimate it so much, it makes his second law even more, well, thought-provoking, I guess you could say.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the second law?
Stupidity is evenly distributed.
Real?
It cuts across everything. Gender, how much money you have, your education. You could even say it doesn't matter if you have a Nobel Prize.
You're telling me even Nobel Prize winners, the geniuses of the world, they make decisions that make you scratch your head.
Cipolla, he actually did research on this, studied university populations,
Yep.
students, professors, the whole mix. And the thing is, stupidity, it wasn't in one group more than another. It was everywhere.
So it's that consistency, that's what makes it so hard to predict. Like this invisible force that can pop up anywhere at any time.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're all underestimating how much stupidity is out there. But before we get too far, let's talk about what Cipolla actually means by stupidity. Because it's not just about someone not being smart, is it?
It's a good point. That's not what he's getting at.
Right.
He defines it by the impact of our actions.
The impact.
Yeah, a stupid person, according to Cipolla, they do something that causes losses for other people. But they're not gaining anything themselves.
So it's not even helping them.
Often they're even losing out too. It's fascinating, really.
Okay, so that's where his third law comes in, right? Where he says a stupid person is someone who causes losses for others but doesn't gain anything and often loses out themselves.
That's the one.
And then he goes on to categorize people, right? He has the helpless, the intelligent, the bandit, and the stupid. And he actually uses a graph to show this.
The graph. Now that's interesting.
I know, graph sounds a little boring, but trust me on this. It's actually really helpful for understanding his whole theory. Imagine this. You have this graph, right? And on one side, it shows what someone gains or loses from their actions. And then the other side shows what other people gain or lose.
Okay, I think I'm getting it.
Yeah,
So, are there some people who, when they act, everybody wins?
exactly. That's your intelligent group. Everyone benefits. Then you got your bandits. They're all about getting ahead, even if it means others lose out.
Makes sense. What about the helpless ones?
The helpless, well, they often end up worse off, even when they're trying to do the right thing. But then there's that fourth group, the stupid ones. Cipolla wants us to really pay attention to these guys. Because their actions, they cause losses for others, but they don't benefit from it at all. They might even be hurting themselves, too.
It's like their actions don't even make sense for them, let alone anyone else.
Exactly.
No wonder they're so hard to deal with.
And you'd think that would make them kind of powerless, right? If they're not thinking straight, how much harm could they really do?
Ah, but that's where Cipolla throws us a curveball with his fourth law. It's a real eye-opener.
Okay, hit me with it. What's the fourth law?
He says, we are constantly underestimating just how much damage these stupid people can do.
Wow. But why? Why are they so dangerous if they're acting so irrationally?
Because they're unpredictable. Their actions, they don't follow the rules.
You mean we assume, even if we don't realize it, that people will usually act in a way that benefits them?
Exactly. We look for some kind of logic, even if it's flawed.
So when someone acts in a way that makes absolutely no sense, it throws us off completely.
Precisely. But we're expecting a certain kind of game, and they're playing by a whole different set of rules that we don't even understand.
It's like trying to play chess with someone who's just making random moves. You can't strategize against that.
And that's what makes them so dangerous. Which leads us right to Cipolla's fifth law,
Hmm.
probably the most unsettling one, I'd say. Yeah, he says, a stupid person is the most dangerous type of person.
Hold on, more dangerous than a bandit. How can that be?
Because a bandit, yeah, they're looking out for themselves, but there's still some logic there.
Right.
You can make sense of it.
Okay.
A bandit wants something, they have a goal in mind, so you can strategize.
You can try to reason with them, maybe negotiate.
Right. But a stupid person, you throw all that out the window. Who knows what they'll do? There's no logic to it. And on top of that, we're always underestimating how much damage they can
You
cause it.
can't predict them. It's like you said, we're always a step behind.
Exactly. And that's where Cipolla's work. It goes beyond just how individuals act, and it starts to explain things about societies,
Yeah.
about the impact of stupidity on a larger scale.
Oh, interesting. So, like, are there more stupid people in some societies than others?
That's the thing. He doesn't think so. He says that proportion, that stupidity factor, is pretty much the same everywhere. What really makes a difference is whether those stupid actions, how much they're allowed to influence things, how much power they have.
That is fascinating. So it's not about the number of stupid people, but more about, like, the platform they're given.
Precisely. And that's what makes some societies more vulnerable than others to this force of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using stupidity in Cipolla's terms here, of course. But yeah, it's about the system.
So, in a society that's doing well, what's happening there? Are there just fewer people making stupid choices?
Not necessarily. Remember, that proportion stays relatively constant. What's different is that in a thriving society, you'll usually find more of those intelligent individuals, the ones who get it.
Mhm.
They see the danger of stupidity, and they're actively trying to minimize its impact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so these are the people who are building things up, making things better for everyone, right?
Yeah, they're thinking long-term, creating win-win situations, working together. That's the kind of stuff that makes societies thrive. They understand that stupidity is a real thing, and they're working to keep it in check.
That makes sense. So what about societies that are, not doing so well? Is it just more stupid people taking charge?
Not exactly. Like I said, the proportion of those folks is pretty consistent across the board. What changes is how the rest of us, the non-stupid majority,
Mhm.
what we do, how we react.
Mm.
Cipolla noticed something interesting. He called them bandits with overtones of stupidity.
Bandits with overtones of stupidity, that's a mouthful.
It is, right. But it's important. He's saying these are the folks who, maybe they're not stupid in the classic sense,
But they're
but they get into positions of power and they start making decisions that benefit them but hurt everyone else.
So they might be smart, but they're using their smarts for selfish reasons, and it ends up backfiring on everyone.
Exactly. They're not thinking about the bigger picture, the long-term consequences. And here's the thing. When these bandits with overtones of stupidity start running the show, you start to see more helplessness in the general population. People get disillusioned, they feel like they don't have a voice, so they disengage. And that makes it even easier for those in power to exploit the situation. It's a vicious cycle.
So it's like this downward spiral. The stupidity at the top creates this sense of helplessness, and it just keeps getting worse.
And that, according to Cipolla, is how seemingly small acts of stupidity, when they're allowed to flourish in a system that rewards that kind of behavior, that's how it can bring down entire civilizations.
Wow. That's a sobering thought. Makes you really think about the choices we make, not just as individuals, but as a society. What kind of systems are we all creating and participating in? It's like we're all in this giant game, but the rules are always changing. And no one thought to tell us that stupidity is a major player.
And that's the power of understanding what Cipolla is trying to tell us. Once you see how much influence stupidity really has, it can totally change how you look at everything, how you move through the world.
It's like suddenly you're seeing things more clearly. All those decisions that drove you crazy, those systems that just don't work. It's like, oh, right, stupidity was a factor all along.
Exactly. And it's not about excusing it. It's not about saying, oh, well, that's just how people are. It's about recognizing it for what it is, for the very real force that it is. And, it has very real consequences. And it all starts with awareness, seeing it clearly.
So what do we do with this information? If stupidity is just kind of baked into the system, how do we even function in a world where it feels like it has so much power?
Well, Cipolla, he would say, just acknowledging it, that's the first big step. Once we accept that stupidity is a real thing, a real force to be reckoned with, that's when we can start making better choices as individuals and as a society, too.
Being more mindful of our own actions, for sure, but also paying attention to the systems we build, the ones we all participate in.
Exactly. Does this system, this choice I'm making, does it reward intelligence? Does it help people make smarter decisions? Or does it actually give more power to those stupid actions?
So it's not about getting rid of all stupidity, because honestly, is that even
I
possible?
don't think Cipolla thought so.
But it's more about, like you said, understanding the rules of the game, even if they're kind of messed up,
Yeah.
and then figuring out how to make the smartest moves we can within those rules.
Exactly. And, striving to be those intelligent players
Mm.
Pola talked about. The ones who get the power of collaboration, the ones who think long term, who know how to create those win-win situations.
It's amazing to me how we can go deep on a topic like stupidity and come away with these really insightful ideas about human nature, about how societies work, about, well, everything.
That's the beauty of exploring these kinds of ideas, right? They shake things up, make you question what you thought you knew.
They really do. And hopefully we all come away from it making slightly smarter choices.
I hope so too.
So, to everyone listening, next time you see something happening and you just can't wrap your head around it, remember Cipolla's laws. It might just give you a new way of looking at things. And hey, maybe even inspire a little more intelligent action out there in the world. That's it for us this time. Keep those questions coming, stay curious, and until next time, take care.